Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 33 of the In From Japan podcast. As always, I'm your host, Errol Moss, with my co-host, the Phenomena from Suriname, Jason Corder.
Hey.
And, this is the podcast where we talk about the latest news on Japan-developed games and other things in relation to them. We're available on Spotify, Podbean, and YouTube. Maybe other podcast services someday, but you should listen to them on those services first. Then we'll determine if we'll put them on others. But anyways, as always, we're gonna start with the Japanese games we've been playing. So I will go first, as usual. I finally played Ninjala.
Finally. What made you decide to take the plunge?
Oh, I had I had a more stable internet connection because of some personal stuff that just some of the people I live with went out of town for a little while. Don't worry, audience, they're safe about things. So I was actually able to play it.
Okay, but how does that factor into you being able to play the game? Does it free up?
What do you mean? I don't go.
No, I mean like them not being at home.
Oh, I just hadn't had time. Before I just hadn't had time yet. I had meant to try it out for a while, and I just was playing other stuff.
No, I get that, but them
it was just on my.
No, I meant them not being at home. Does it free up internet bandwidth so you can?
I don't need to tell people about. I don't want to talk to people about my crappy internet connection.
I mean, you brought it up. I'm just clarifying for the audience.
They don't need to know more details.
Okay.
Anyways, back to the actual game. The point of why I was talking about it.
Okay.
It's good. It's surprisingly good.
Is it?
I'm surprised more people aren't talking about it with how many downloads it's gotten, over 4 million or something at this point.
Well, they're not talking about it, they're playing it.
But it should be it's not, you would expect it to be a more consistent conversation. It's not, I guess it didn't explode in popularity the way Fall Guys has.
Yeah, but Fall Guys...
Or even Splatoon.
Fall Guys has a broader audience.
It does.
It's on PC, it's on PlayStation. Splatoon is a first-party Nintendo product, whereas Ninjala is a free-to-play game on Switch.
Although for the people who are wanting to find something to scratch that Splatoon itch, I think it's a good thing to recommend.
Okay.
It's a similar art style. There is a story mode. Unfortunately, the story mode is just one chapter right now, and it costs $10.
Okay.
So the real meat of the game is the multiplayer.
Yeah.
And you're just these little ninja kids equipped with these bubblegum weapons running around. You're either trying to get points. You're either smashing drones around the arena or smashing each other. With your gum weapons.
Do you have any special abilities, or is it tied to your weapons?
Depending on your weapon, yeah. So I was using a hammer weapon that could that had a stun attack. Well, there are 3 types of weapons. There are bats, hammers, and yo-yos, and there are kind of subclasses within those weapon types. So at first I was using this hammer that could stun people, and that really helped me get a few levels at first, but then I kind of got tired of it because it's a hammer, it's slow.
Yeah.
And Ninjala is pretty fast. Although I did see more experienced players using it once I leveled up a bit. Then I started using this drill weapon, and what's cool is that it actually does make it feel like a little more like Splatoon, because the drill has the ability where you can go underground for a small amount of time, and it feels like when you turn into a squid in Splatoon almost.
Okay. Does it have any staying power, you think? Will it be the next Fortnite or Fall Guys, or do you see it?
I don't know. I with the fact that it doesn't have that much popularity, but somehow just has all those downloads.
I mean,
I wonder if because Fall Guys, I thought like after this week, I thought it would finally kind of be decline in popularity, but it seems to still be going strong.
I mean, I think Fall Guys is pretty popular because it kind of taps into that Mario Party chaos kind of fun. Like you don't know what to expect from battle to battle, whereas Ninjala is a bit more structured and meant to be played semi-competitively.
And not as many people know about Ninjala, I feel like, as they do about Fall Guys.
I mean, we can chalk it up to marketing, but I don't think we can discount the amount of downloads Ninjala has been getting.
Yeah.
So maybe it is popular, just not in the circles we're running in.
Not in the game's media circles
maybe
at all?
Not.
Well, actually, I was looking at reviews. Reviews were mostly positive, saying like, "Oh, it's fun," and like I guess there's probably room for improvement. I don't know all the like details of like how different things work, and like, oh, they need to balance this weapon and that, like, because I didn't play it enough to really get into that. But I got my character to level 11, level 12 or something.
Okay.
And I had actually a really fun time doing it.
All right.
Because I felt like I didn't completely suck at the game like I would as like a first-person shooter.
I mean, it is a bit more forgiving than, say, Call of Duty Warzone.
And it's just really fun how fast and fluid it is. Like you're like sometimes you're just running around, you're sliding on these like gum rails between buildings, jumping, running up walls. Your bubble gum so there's like different things you can do. You have like a meter that builds up, and the first thing you can do is make your weapon big, so it's like, a bit stronger. But then once your meter is like completely filled up, you can turn your weapon into a special weapon, which does a lot more damage, and with that drill can Ippon enemies in 2 hits. Ippon is not when you knock out an enemy, but when you do it by using the gum using gum weapons specifically, like when you use your gum bubble that you can shoot out, or your fully upgraded gum weapon. It's kind of funny though too, because like every time an Ippon happens, the announcer just says random Japanese words, but not like random Japanese words like you don't know what they're like. I mean, like they'll say like karaoke or teriyaki or something, and I'm like, oh, it's one of these games.
Okay. I don't know.
It's pretty funny.
Maybe,
and then it has a great soundtrack too. You should definitely try it. I'm trying to recommend it to more people looking for a multiplayer.
All right, I'll give it a shot. If I get through this week and have enough time left over. I mean, there are a lot of Nintendo indies on sale at the moment, which have recently been revealed, I'd say, during the Nintendo Indies Direct. So...
and if you want to learn more about those indies, you can follow IndiePod on Parallax Media.
Yeah, nice plug. So what else have you been playing?
Final Fantasy XIV, patch 5.3, Yokai Watch event.
I feel like the Yokai Watch event is the emphasis in that sentence.
Oh my god, it's crazy. Because the fates, you know what fates are. There are these little events around the world that you can participate in that happen every couple minutes, really. So, they're crazy because so you do a quest to initially get the yokai watch, and then that yokai watch allows you to get medals from any fate as long as you have it equipped. And then, depending on what yokai watch minion you have equipped, if you're in the right area, you can get their medal, and when you have enough of that specific medal, you can get the corresponding weapon, which are each for a certain class. So I already got the Dark Knight weapon.
Okay.
And I'm working on the Monk one, because Monk is my other class that I have.
That sounds a bit grindy, though.
No, it's actually because the fates go so fast.
Oh, okay.
Because everybody, it'll be like, you'll be in an area, and you'll see all these people, especially in the base game, because everybody will be flying around. You'll see all these people on mouse flying around, and they'll fly from one fate to the next. And it's hilarious and chaotic and amazing.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're still enjoying it. I've recently tried to get back into Final Fantasy XIV in conjunction with the 5.3 update, but alas, I cannot. It turns out the extended free trial only counts for people who have never subscribed to the game, and me claiming the free base game on PlayStation, I'd like to say 2 months ago. That gave me 30 days or 60 days. I think 30 days of in-game time. So that equals a subscription. And even though that was a free thing, I am still not eligible for this free extended trial. So I'd have to resub to experience the base game and Heaven's Ward that is free at the moment. So it sucks on one hand, but it's a great thing for new players on the other hand.
Yeah.
Besides that, I haven't really been playing much. Trying to finish up Ghost of Tsushima, and in terms of Japanese games, I've tried to get back into Dragon Quest XI, finishing up Rab's side quest. But yeah, been a busy week. Had my father-in-law's funeral yesterday, so everything surrounding that made for not much time for gaming, understandably.
Yeah.
So hopefully I'll dip my toes back into it this weekend with the Avengers beta or next week. But yeah, that's all I've been doing this week. I think.
Anyway, moving on to the In From Japan J list, where we talk about recent video game related entertainment news. Persona 5, the animation streaming on Funimation starting August 18th, 2020. This is from Jenny Lotto over at Siliconera. People in North America will have a new way to see Persona on August 18th, 2020. Funimation's Persona 5, the animation, will begin with Japanese and English voice acting options in both the US and Canada that day. Funimation confirmed on its blog that it will be the exclusive home of the dub. Funimation also noted which episodes of the Persona 5 anime it will have available. In addition to the normal 26 episode run, it will have the 2 special episodes Dark Sun and Stars and R's. This means there will be parity with the version available currently via Crunchyroll in Japanese with English subtitles, as it also has all 26 episodes and the 2 special episodes immediately available. As a reminder, this dub will feature the voice actors from the game, so it's the same ones. Persona 5 does things a little differently than the animation does things a little differently than the game, so you definitely want to do if you want the full experience, you probably want to play the game, but if you'd rather just watch the anime, just know that there are some differences.
I'd actually advocate for skipping the anime, because the animation quality is not all that great from what I've seen. It's
people said the same thing about Persona 4, but a lot of people like that anime.
You can still like the story, the dialogue, the characters, and the modified story that they have for the show, because the game has a certain degree of freedom in choices, like who you date, what activities you choose, how certain characters view you as a main character at the end of the story, all of that. And all that choice has been taken away. And that leads to some interesting developments in the story. But yeah, I don't know. If you really want to experience this, but you don't have time to game, then by all means, watch the anime.
Yeah.
Next up, we have how to make
Capcom fighting characters. Will be localized in October 20th, 2020. That was weird to read. It's also by Jenny Latta for Silicon Era. Another one of Capcom's books looking at a game's concept art and design process is being localized. Udon Entertainment will release How to Make Capcom Fighting Characters Street Fighter character design in English on October 20th, 2020. The hardcover book will cost $49.99. While this title makes reference to a general Capcom fighting characters, How to Make Capcom Fighting Characters' main focus is on Final Fight, Street Fighter, and Street Fighter V. Characters we have known for years, like Ryu, Juri, Menat, and I don't know who that is, and Zangief, have detailed pages looking at the creative process that led to them, concept art, and their designs. There are also pages looking at unused characters that never made it into the game. For example, one sample page looks at the 4 Monkeys series of characters that never ended up appearing. This would have been a group of 4 characters named See No Evil, Speak No Evil 1, Speak No Evil 2, and a combat Vocaloid named Hear No Evil. Okay.
You have no idea what you just read, did you? Or do you?
Pre-orders are open at Amazon. Has been available in Japan since November 2018. Alright. Next up, 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim manga will launch in Japan in September. This is once again Silicon Era. I think they're everything in this section. This is once again by Jenny Latta. People will get to learn a little more about the young people who are attempting to help protect their world and the things important to them with the 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim manga. Atlas announced on Twitter that the collection of stories will appear in a 990 yen, about $9.40 volume on September 10th, 2020. I don't know why they said it that way. The 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim manga will feature a number of different stories focusing on the lives of characters like Juro Kurabe, Iori Fuyusaka, Takatoshi Hijiyama, and Usami. The cover even has the 13 main characters on it. As for the stories within, people like God Eater 2 mangaka Ikumi Katagiri and idly prized Stage of Asterism mangaka Hiroki Haruse put together stories for the anthology. Here's Atlas's tweet showing the full cover art. Only a Japanese release of the manga anthology has been confirmed. However, the 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim Nendoroid of Iori will be released worldwide in December 2020. So that's neat. It's not even out yet here. It's already getting a manga. Well, I guess it's out in Japan already.
Are you looking forward to it? Because you were pretty excited for the 13... what was it? 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim game coming out soon.
I mean...
Like, it gives you extra context for the story and the characters?
Yeah, that's cool. Huh. I mean, I don't know, like, what the canosity is.
Canonicity?
But I don't know. I'm not, like, that into it. I'm curious to see more about this game since I feel like it's been a while since it was first announced for us.
Okay.
Next story is Monster Hunter Illustrations 3 will arrive in October 2020 by Jenny Latta for Siliconera. Another classic compendium detailing Capcom's efforts is being localized, as Udon Entertainment confirmed it's working on a third Monster Hunter art book. Monster Hunter Illustrations 3 will make its debut outside of Japan on October 20th, 2020. The hardcover collection will cost $54.99 and be packed with 376 pages worth of insights and designs. However, like past entries, this one focuses on a very specific entry. This installment is all about Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, which appeared on the Nintendo 3DS worldwide. People can see design details about different monsters from the game, like the Binzara dragon, and get a better idea of how they were designed, details about specific parts of the creatures, and images showing specific motions and movements. There are also examinations of different armor sets for both humans and felines. Udon shared a few pages from the collection to give people an idea of what to expect. They did the whole thing. So October 20th, 2020, once again. And so I just got the Monster Hunter World one that just came out recently. That thing is huge.
I mean, there are a lot of creatures,
I don't know if I'll ever get
right?
through it. I feel like there aren't as many as past Monster Hunter games. That's the weird part.
Definitely not in Monster Hunter World.
But yeah, there are like sections for the characters and like all the smaller creatures, and then of course the section for the monsters. And I don't know if I'm ever gonna get through it. This one is Monster Hunter 4 specifically, is Illustrations 3, which I might get it because that's the first Monster Hunter game I ever played.
Okay.
So we'll see.
All right.
Next up, recommended content. Content other than news from the past week listed out. Links in the description. Phantasy Star Online devs in the story, the graphics, and the angry fans that used to call The Office by James Mielk over at Polygon. Final Fantasy XIV's The Realm Reborn storyline is more bearable now by
Ji Ching-wan
for Twinfinite. 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim is Vanillaware's boldest game yet by Katie McCarthy over at USGamer. Interview. Vanillaware's Akiyasu Yamamoto talks 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim by Siliconera staff over at Siliconera. Final Fantasy XIV Patch 5.3 solidifies the MMO's argument for being the best game in the series by Mike Williams over at USGamer. A much smaller recommended list than usual. It's been kind of, I wouldn't say it's been a slow news week, but it's been less packed than, well, no, for like, because usually recommended reading would put longer form pieces, and I haven't seen as much this week.
I mean,
because everybody's busy playing different things.
It can happen.
So we'll probably see some next week. So next we have the news rundown. We have no bad news this week. Well, besides the state of the world and everything, but pertaining to video games, to Japanese video games, we have no bad news this week that I know of, at least.
Well, I guess that's good? Question mark?
It's something.
Yeah, definitely.
In other news, Zoids Wild Infinity Blast got a debut trailer. Takara Tomy has released a debut trailer for Zoids Wild Infinity Blast, its new Zoids Wild for Switch, due out this winter in Japan. In Zoids Wild Infinity Blast, players will be able to freely customize their Zoid in modification mode, and the latest Zoids such as Zero Greasus, sorry, I haven't gotten that far in the anime yet, so I don't know how that's pronounced, will appear. And it shows you can just change the color and customize the weapons, and that's neat. This is the sequel to the first. We don't have the first one in the West yet. We're getting the first one later this year. This is the following one. I have been watching Zoids Wild on Netflix. I'm on like episode 5 or 6. It's been pretty good.
Oh, I didn't even realize it was already out. Or at least I haven't seen it on my regional Netflix. Okay.
Next is you.
Next up we have Capcom sales update. Resident Evil 3 Remake at 2.7 million, DMC Devil May Cry Definitive Edition at 1.1 million, and more. This is by Sal Romano for Gematsu. Capcom has updated its list of platinum titles, games that have sold over 1 million units, providing total sales numbers as of June 30th, 2020. Notable updates include Monster Hunter World. I'm not gonna read how many units every entry has sold, but I'll just name the top earners, like Monster Hunter World, Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, Resident Evil 2, I think that's remake, Devil May Cry 5, Street Fighter 5, Monster Hunter World Iceborne, RE3, RE4, and then DMC Devil May Cry Definitive Edition. If you click on the article, you can find all the details you need. Yeah, this is kind of neat. Capcom has made quite the resurgence in the last decade, I'd like to say. Even with the lesser news from last week of Ono-san of Street Fighter fame departing the company, and it's still nice to see that the games are doing well. Okay, next up is all you.
Oh yeah, reminder, Yakuza Karaoke Spotify EPs include hits like Bakamitai. On Spotify, there are songs from the Yakuza karaoke, not karaoke songs, not the karaoke versions of Yakuza songs, but the karaoke songs from Yakuza rather. The 4 EPs cover different characters' performances throughout the series. There's one for Kiryu, one for Majima, one with Ichiban Kasuga's hits for those who don't mind spoilers, and a various artists EP with tracks from Taiga Saejima, Shinpachi Nagamura, Hana, Ikumatsu, and Yuki. Yes, that means you also get Taiga's rendition of Bakamitai, which is kind of a meme.
Okay.
Here are the links, and so there's a whole track listing for all of them on Spotify. So after I saw this article, I looked on Spotify for video game music, because I'm always curious about that. And I know before they had some Final Fantasy stuff, and some Pokemon reorchestrated stuff. And I was looking, and they have a ton of Capcom stuff.
Yeah, the Capcom sound team is heavily featured on Spotify. You have DMC, Monster Hunter,
and a bunch of Sega stuff too. So I was like, that's really cool. They even have the Monster Hunter Stories soundtrack. Yeah. But unfortunately for that one, the titles are in Japanese, so you're gonna have to listen to them if you don't read Japanese. You're gonna have to figure out which ones they are. What?
No, I was going to say, sometimes by just searching the names in English, you won't find anything. So you have to kind of play around with search terms, maybe look for the audio team or the artist involved.
Well, because Monster Hunter Stories, the name of the game was in English, but then all the song titles were in Japanese.
No, I know. That's what I'm getting at. You can't always find what you're looking for on Spotify, so you have to be a bit creative with your search terms.
Next story. Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memories release date may have leaked. This is from DualShockers by Lou Contaldi. The release date for Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory may have just leaked for Nintendo Switch, PS4, and Xbox One, pointing to November 13th. It isn't a week in gaming without a retailer-related release date leak, and according to a new listing, we may have just filled out quota. According to a listing from Austrian retailer Gameware, we may have finally have the release date for Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory for Nintendo Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. Specifically, the game might come out on November 13, 2020. News comes by way of Austrian gaming retailer Gameware in a listing first spotted by Twitter user SoEthriel. I think we've cited them before. A quick scan of the retailer's page shows that the listing hasn't been removed since earlier today, and it isn't immediately clear on how long the listing has had this release date. As always, there are plenty of reasons to be skeptical about retailer leaks, which are more often than not placeholder dates. Let us not forget the time that Amazon listed Cyberpunk 2077 as coming out sometime between 2030 and 2099. I mean,
that's an optimistic view.
Another thing of note, it seems like the listing page does. If it came out in 2099, it would just be. Would it be a more historic? Would it be an Assassin's Creed at that point? Several decades in the past. Another thing of note, it seems like the listing page does not have the cover art nor a listing for Xbox One, so it is clearly working off of incomplete information. Even still, earlier leaks have proven to be true, including Square Enix-based leak of Marvel's Avengers PlayStation exclusivity for Spider-Man. In short, make sure you are taking this rumor with a grain of salt, but I'll be marking my calendar down for the next chunk of Kingdom Hearts lore, even if the rest of my team is a little less enthused. Yeah, I feel that.
Ouch. But okay. Let's see, next up.
So that would be interesting.
I mean, sure, I guess. It is what it is. We'll see if it ties into the main story in any way possible.
It's gonna have one scene that does, just like Coded. It's gonna have one particular scene that does.
That's so exciting, just one scene. Next up, we have Amazon UK list The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword for Switch.
Kingdom Hearts has good music, so a rhythm game sounds fun. I mean...
Yeah. I'm not knocking it for the music or rhythm game aspect of it. I'm knocking it for whether or not it's going to be tying into the main story at all. But I digress. Again, Amazon UK lists The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword for Switch. This is by Sal Romano for Gamatsu. Amazon UK has listed The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword for Switch. The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword first launched for Wii in November 2011. Or 2011. I don't know why I said 2011. Anyway, built around motion controls, the game requires use of the Wii Remote and Nunchuck, as well as the Wii Motion Plus add-on. Back in November 2018, a Nintendo spokesperson told Eurogamer, at this time we have no plans to release The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword on Nintendo Switch. The Amazon UK listing includes a January 1st, 2030 release date. 2030? Like, we ain't got that much time. Have you seen the world? Release the Kraken, Nintendo. Anyway, we'll see.
Wait, what was the 2030 thing? Sorry, the connection.
No, it says like the Amazon UK listing includes a January 1st, 2030 release date. Like it's definitely a placeholder. It has to be because
I think that's I think the 2030 is a typo.
No, I'm not saying it's a typo. I'm thinking, or I'm guessing that's a placeholder. Like. It's just to add something in the system.
It's just a really weird placeholder.
I don't know, man.
Can they not put like 2021 as a placeholder for some reason?
I have no idea, but I do not think it's a typo. But then again, yeah, these listings aren't really filled to the brim with exact details. It's more just whatever to have something in the back end for whenever the real information becomes available. Let's see. Next up is all you.
Yeah, Dragon Quest Tact trademarked in the US and Europe. This is by Sato for Siliconera. The mobile strategy RPG Dragon Quest Tact released last month in Japan, but there's a good chance it'll come west, as it was trademarked in the US on July 14th, 2020, and in Europe on July 7th, 2020. Square Enix first trademarked Dragon Quest Tact in the West back in March 2020 in Australia. It was more recently trademarked in the United Kingdom and Canada on July 7th, 2020. It's worth noting that trademarking a title doesn't guarantee a localization for the game, as companies often trademark titles in case they decide to do so. However, considering it's a smartphone game that is doing fairly well in Japan since launching last month, it wouldn't be a big surprise to see it come over. As for Dragon Quest Tact, it's a strategy RPG where you lead monsters into battles across grid-based maps. It offers simple commands and gameplay for new players, but it also offers plenty of strategic depth for fans of the genre. After defeating monsters in battle, there's a chance to befriend a monster to have it join your party. Sounds like the game for me.
Well, it's really up your alley with Dragon Quest. Yeah. Okay, next up we have Falcom to reveal information on the next title in August 27th due issue of Weekly Famitsu. Falcom will announce first details on this next title in the August 27th due issue of Weekly Famitsu. This week's issue teases. According to Falcom president Toshihiro Kondo, Falcom's next title will be developed on its new game engine and feature considerably improved graphics. At this point, we do not know the extent of the information Falcom will reveal. It could be a full-blown reveal, or it could simply be a screenshot. This week's issue of Weekly Famitsu also has the following new tidbits of information on the Legend of Heroes Hajimari no Kiseki. So there's like a minigame and episodes detailing story paths. And it also notes that The Legend of Heroes Hajimari no Kiseki is due out for PlayStation 4 on August 27th in Japan. I have no idea what this game will be. Like, maybe a new Legend of Heroes game in the meta series. Because I think all the trails in the sky, Trails of Cold Steel, and Trails from Zero games will converge in Trails of Cold Steel 4. And after that, there's not much else known.
You don't think they would ever make a new top-down East game?
Top-down, no. Maybe for mobile. If anything, the 3D action East games have proven to be super successful and popular. So why not keep going down that route? I mean, you've seen East 9 already, and I don't think they're going to deviate from that. But yeah, it's probably going to be a new Trails game or a new series altogether. Well, we'll know soon enough. Alright. Next up we have Microsoft reveals new user interface coming to Xbox devices this holiday. This is by Sal Romano for Gamatsu. Microsoft has introduced a new user interface that will be used across Xbox Series X, Xbox One, Xbox Game Pass on PC, and all Xbox mobile applications this holiday. And if you click on the article, you get the full details. But it boils down to them stripping down and smoothing the experience so that you can get to your games quicker. You have less of a memory load when it comes to using the UI. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they decrease the size or the memory load by 40%, which is a lot. So it's going to feel snappier, it's going to feel more responsive, and it's looking kind of fun. At least it's more appealing than the PS4 UI, I'd say. But we have yet to see the PS5 UI, so maybe I shouldn't be cheering so soon. Okay, next up we have Resident Evil 7 will join Xbox Game Pass on September 3rd. Yeah, September 3rd, 2020. This is by Kazuma Hashimoto for Silicon Era. Resident Evil... Oh, just by the way, Kazuma's streams are great and fun, and he streams pretty early on in the morning, but if you want a fun, inclusive place to go and watch streams of Tales of Cristoria or Resident Evil or Dissidia Opera Omnia
or Neo 2. I don't know if he's played anything else, but that's a good place to go. I believe his name on... Well, he's on Siliconera stream sometimes, but he also Justice Kazi on Twitch.
Yeah, I think we can put his Twitch name in the description so you can give him a follow.
Yeah.
To continue the article.
I mean, we credit him for so many articles anyway.
Yeah. Resident Evil 7 will be added to the Xbox Game Pass service for the Xbox One and Windows 10 PCs on September 3rd, 2020. This marks the 2017 first-person survival horror title's debut on the service. For anyone unfamiliar with it, the Xbox Game Pass is a subscription-based service that allows consumers to access a wide variety of games. Every month, more games are rotated through the Game Pass, giving consumers a large range of titles to choose from. However, the console and PC libraries can differ, and an ultimate subscription is required to access both. You can click on the article for more information. Next up is all you.
I just want to say that Game Pass continues to be insane. Resident Evil 7 now. It did make me wonder if I wonder if Game Pass is going to eventually get some of the other Final Fantasy games. Because 7, 9, 15, they could also put 10 and 10.2 and 12 on there.
I think it's more than likely.
And 8 remastered.
It's more than likely, but I think they just...
Because that would be great.
Yeah, sure, but I think they kind of want to balance it out with all the other games they have in the selection. They don't just want to have...
I'm not saying at the same time. I'm not saying they would put them all on the same time.
I know.
Or anything
I
like
know.
that.
But it's a rotating list of games, so maybe in the coming months we'll see the other Final Fantasy games.
Most of the time they stay, right? It's not like PS Plus where they're gone after a month.
It's a rotating list, so...
Some of them do leave after a while, though.
So it's like Netflix. You have the mainstays, like, say, Gears of War, Halo, Forza, and sometimes the games from other publishers will get rotated out.
Yeah, and if you want to fly to Tokyo, you can get Flight Simulator on Game Pass. Segue to this article about Tokyo Game Show 2020.
Okay.
Tokyo Game Show 2020 online stream programs explained in more detail. This is by Kite Stenbuck over at Siliconera. The latest issue of Famitsu magazine has an interview with Yasuyuki Yamaji, head of the Secretariat of Computer Entertainment Suppliers Association, which organizes the annual Tokyo Game Show. This interview gives more insight into how the upcoming Tokyo Game Show 2020 online will be held. Here are some of the highlights from the interview. The main content is the organizer's program. We will deliver the latest information on each exhibitor with a program format. Stage events originally held on public days in past years, as well as events from maker company booths, will be turned into a program style and be played sequentially on the main channel. We will make adjustments so that the audience can watch programs in order without having to worry about being unable to watch a stream due to clashing schedules like before. We plan on having 3 official channels, one for programs from exhibitors, one for the indie event Sense of Wonder Night and the Japan Game Awards, and one for the esports X to show esports tournaments. Companies can also display their own titles as exhibitors on the special site without having to wait for the live streams. I sincerely hope that we can hold the real event at Makuhari Mess next year. I hope so too. Tokyo Game Show 2020 online will run from September 23rd, 2020 to September 27th, 2020. It's going to be held in a completely digital format as the physical event was canceled due to the pandemic. The 23rd is reserved for online business matching, so the main event streams will begin on September 24th, 2020.
So, new games to look out for.
Yeah, Tokyo Game Show is one of my favorite events to try to tune into. It's late, so
I mean,
because of time difference.
I'll just catch up with it when I'm fully awake. It'll be fine.
But yeah, I'm excited.
Okay, next up we have Nintendo Switch Brazilian debut is coming soon. This is by Jenny Lada for Silicon Era. Back in April 2020, there was a suggestion from Brazilian sites The Enemy, that's a name, and Game Hall that an official Nintendo Switch Brazil debut could be coming due to the country's national telecommunication agency approving it. Now, Nintendo itself has confirmed it. There aren't any dates yet, but there was a reveal on Twitter saying a Brazilian release is in the works and showing images of the original Nintendo Switch. And there's also the tweet confirming it from Nintendo themselves, or itself. And yeah, this is a good thing, a great move, because Brazil is kind of behind on the rest of us, or compared to the rest of us when it comes to gaming, and it all has to do with laws, with trading routes, with tariffs, with oh my god, it's a lot of boring legalese and economic stuff you don't want to get into. But yeah, I'm happy to see it. I'm really happy to see it. It makes me think, will they also come to up north to my country? But yeah, we're small potatoes compared to Brazil. But here's the hoping.
I mean, what if it does it? Do they? If, with them coming to Brazil, will it make it easier for your country to get, since you're like right there?
No, unless they have the international version with the various languages or voice and dub tracks or subtracks. Like say they only get the specific Portuguese or Brazilian Portuguese versions of games, and no English audio track or subtrack available. That would make it quite difficult for playing these games. As for importing,
I mean, they usually support most languages.
Yeah,
though.
Usually. But I'm just saying, in the occasion that they will have super localized games for Brazil, it just doesn't make much sense to bring them over here. And when it comes to importing stuff, it's much easier and much cheaper, I'd like to say, to import from the United States or Europe in some cases.
That's interesting. Yeah. You would think it would be cheaper to import from, the countries closer to you.
Yeah, but it's a whole thing.
But different rules and stuff. Yeah,
geography, man. The trade tariffs and bans and special regulations also make certain electronics way more expensive in Brazil. If it's in America for, I'd like to say maybe $400, $500, it might be $800 in Brazil. And the exchange rate is also really, really different compared to what you'd be expecting from, I'd say, America in comparison to Canada. It's way higher, probably. So the dollar is, or can mean so much more for someone in Brazil. And that money they'd be using for a console can be used for rent, for living expenses, for food, for other stuff. So yeah, it's already an expensive hobby, but for these territories and my territory, it's a really, really expensive hobby. So hopefully this official support changes that. Okay, next up is Sega to aggressively port games to Steam after Persona 4 Golden success. This is by Jordan Alleman for IGN. Sega intends to aggressively port games to Steam and other new platforms following the success of Persona 4 Golden PC port, which launched in June of this year. As reported by GamesIndustry.biz, Sega's latest investor Q&A underlined the sales performance of Persona 4 Golden on Steam, which was significantly higher than expected. The company has said that this will help govern its approach towards porting its older games onto new platforms, to which I only have this to say: Skies of Arcadia when? Sega, please, I'm begging you.
Yes.
When?
Stop teasing me with the soundtrack on Spotify.
I mean, they drop soundtracks willy-nilly. Doesn't have to indicate anything.
Yeah, I know, but still, stop teasing me. Stop teasing us.
This could be good. Maybe? Question mark?
I like how it went from, I guess we'll port Persona 4 to PC, and after it sold well, it's like, yeah, I guess we'll think about porting more games to PC, and now they're aggressively going to port.
But I don't want them to go overboard, because whenever these things happen, they go overboard, and then they expect like million copies sold. And I mean, you gotta have realistic expectations, man. Don't ruin it for yourself.
Yeah, I don't think Skies of Arcadia is gonna sell millions and millions of copies, but it should sell a decent amount.
I'm guessing between 300,000 and 500,000 copies.
But it's also because I've heard that some of the dialogue in Skies of Arcadia hasn't aged so well.
I mean, that doesn't have to be.
You can say that about a lot of games.
That doesn't have to be a hindrance so much, because the Final Fantasy VII port from PS1 and PC also has dialogue that hasn't aged well, but that game is still playable on modern consoles. So
that is true.
Yeah,
that's just something I heard. I don't know what it pertains to specifically. So,
we'll see.
I just want Skies of Arcadia on PC for game preservation purposes.
Jet Set Radio Future. Other stuff.
Sonic Heroes.
Help us, Sega. Help us help you.
Shadow the Hedgehog. Okay, now I need to stop. I need to be quiet now.
Don't. Just read it.
Sonic 06.
Just read the next story.
Oh, I think it's already on PC. Phantasy Star Universe.
Which is a good segue, because the next story you're going to be reading.
Good segue, because the next story is... This is from MMOs.com. Because I didn't see the story anywhere else. Phantasy Star... This is by Omer Alte. Phantasy Star Online 2 is Phantasy Star Online 2 North America is Sega's #1 free-to-play title and earned $14 million between April and June. $14 million. Phantasy Star Online 2 in North America has been a financial success for Sega so far. It's still far too early to tell if the game will generate meaningful revenues in the West, but in Sega's last earnings report, April to June 2020, the North American version of the game was the number one highest grossing game in Sega's free-to-play category. Phantasy Star Online 2's English version had generated 1.5 billion yen so far, according to the company's earnings report. In the image below, titles released in fiscal year 2021/3 refers to the second quarter of 2020, and PSO2 was the only major free-to-play launch in the quarter, so this figure refers almost exclusively to PSO2. The only other free-to-play launch for Sega in the quarter was Sonic at the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020, which received almost no mention in the company's earning report. When you take Mario out, you just... So almost all of the free-to-play revenue from titles released this last quarter can be attributed to Phantasy Star Online 2 North America. This table can be a bit confusing because okay, well, and it expects it to get up to 128 million. So we'll see. It says PC, especially since the game's PC launch has been incredibly strong, and the game is averaging 12,500 players on Steam alone.
That's a decent chunk of people.
Keep in mind that the PC version of Phantasy Star Online 2 launched in May 27, 2020, so it was only out for about 1 month of the quarter, so next quarter should be even better.
Well, good on you.
Just wait until New Genesis comes out. That's
good on you, Phantasy Star Online 2. Good on you.
I'm really curious to see what happens with that, especially when New Genesis comes out with the better graphics and the more streamlined gameplay and updated things.
I just hope it doesn't split the player base all that much.
Yeah. Next is Idola Phantasy Star Saga pre-registration now available for the West, due out September 17th according to the App Store. This is from Sal Romano over at Gamatsu. Pre-registration for the Western release of Idola Phantasy Star Saga is now available for iOS via the App Store and Android via Google Play. Boltren Games will publish the mobile Phantasy Star game worldwide, with the exception of European countries, Japan, South Korea, and Vietnam. According to the App Store, Idola Phantasy Star Saga is planned for release on September 17th. First launch November 2018 in Japan. Overview of the game. The classic RPG series Phantasy Star finally comes to mobile. Experience thrilling turn-based battles with 2-party mode, world-class artwork, an unforgettable musical score, and an epic fantasy through the fully voiced story campaign. Save the land of Vandor from the threat of Dark Falls. Classic battle key features: classic battle system. Return to the series roots through a command-style system of battle. Release your ultimate skill, Elemental Blast, to defeat your enemies by consuming elemental values. 2-party mode. You can deploy and switch between 2 party modes, Law and Chaos, during battles. Switching parties unleashes an all-out attack called Reverse Rush, so take your chances and change the tides of battle. Fate Divergence. Face each character's fate and choose the ultimate upgrade for each, changing the conclusion to a character's story. Not only will it change the character's appearance, but also their skills and elemental blast as well. Idola battles. Join forces with friends and other players to defeat the Idola. You can also become an amazing Idola yourself and battle other adventurers. There are various kinds of Idola available within the game. PvP Arena. 2 teams enter, only 1 leaves. Battle with other adventurers teams to become the ace of the arena. Game is free to play. Items are available for purchase within the game. Network connection is required. Oof.
That's
Woof.
a chunky news article. Okay, next up we have...
I thought it was less chunky than that. Wait, hold on. I have something to say about that.
Okay.
It seems that these gacha spin-offs of JRPGs are getting a lot more popular. Or just a lot better in general, maybe. Because we got Final Fantasy, Dissidia, Opera Omnia. We have, what's it called? Tales of Cristoria.
Mm-hmm.
We got this. We have, there's that Grand Blue game, but I don't know if that's technically an RPG or not. We got Dragon Quest of the Stars, and we got Kingdom Hearts Union Cross Dark Road or whatever.
Uh-huh.
It's interesting. It's interesting to see this, it's kind of like a trend right now, almost. Or maybe it is.
I wouldn't say it's now a trend. It was always a trend, or has been a trend for a very long time.
I think it's just now we're getting more of them.
Come again?
We're getting more of them in the West in a short period of time.
I don't think I agree with that totally, because if you check the app stores regularly, you see them popping up, like I'd say every 2 weeks or so.
Yeah.
So we're getting more of them. like the bigger branded RPG games with gacha spin-offs, and you have anime inspired gacha games. So I wouldn't say it's like a new trend.
No, it's not a new... I just think that it's more frequent recently, it seems like. At least for Western releases, because some of these games were released, a while ago in Japan.
That might be the case, but I'd still say it's been going on for a while now. Okay,
I think just localization... Companies are just getting more...
I'd say...
more open to localizing more of their games.
I'd say local...
That they're afraid maybe won't do that well.
Localizing gacha games might be a bit easier because they're not as text-heavy as a full game. So they're porting...
and maybe before they were more scared that they wouldn't do as well outside of Japan.
Well, if a gacha game without a tie to a bigger franchise can make millions and millions... Why couldn't a Final Fantasy game generate that millions for themselves? So
And the other thing is, most of these gacha games are actually, besides the gacha things, they're relatively well made. Like, you don't have to pay any money.
No, but that's how they hook you. They offer simple but engaging gameplay. And if that already hooks you in, then you have the enticing probability of landing a super rare or ultra rare role.
But the things is that usually you just get a lot of these games, at least in Crystoria's case, you get the currency you need to unlock characters just for logging in frequently.
That's the case with every gacha game.
Stuff, so you don't have to use money.
No, but that's the case with every gacha game. You don't have to
use money.
You don't, but that's what I'm saying. That they hook you in with that loop, with the gameplay, with the free resources.
I refuse to use money on these games. I spent $20 on Pokemon Go when it first came out. I refuse to spend any more money.
I mean, you don't
on mobile game.
You don't have to, but they're designed to get money from you, because there might be
that. But what I'm trying to say is, it's nice that they're putting more effort into the rest of the game rather than making it just about the gacha. Do you know what I mean?
I guess so, but I wouldn't. I don't think I entirely.
Story again is my only example.
Yeah.
So like the story and the characters and stuff, and they actually get the voices, and the characters have like actual interactions with each other and stuff, and they didn't have to necessarily do that to make money with the Tales mobile game, but they went the extra mile to do that.
Yes, but I don't entirely agree that gacha games are completely soulless and devoid of any artistic merit.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying they're completely soulless. I'm just saying more recent gacha games seems to have more effort put into them, which you could say about a lot of mobile games or video games in general, but like I mean, like they don't seem like even though they are technically they're cash grabs, quote unquote, they're not like, I don't know how to explain.
I'd say you maybe need to play more gacha games then. Continuing on, we have Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered Edition will have 13 post-game dungeons. This is also by Kazuma Hashimoto for Silicon Era. There will be 13 Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered Edition post-game dungeons. This is a new feature that will be added to this version of the game. In the original game, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles did not have any post-game content. So this will be a treat for players that want to spend as much time with the game as possible. These dungeons will be considerably harder than their counterparts, giving veteran players a new challenge to experience. Let's see. By participating in these Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered Edition post-game dungeons, players will be able to net themselves new equipment, item recipes that were not available in the original release of the game. These will include new accessories, weapons, and armor. A new feature that will be accompanying these post-game dungeons is the ability to use crystal memories that will allow players to use moves previously unique to bosses. So, you can click on the article if you want to have more information, but it kind of sounds like a live service game-esque thing where you have the main story, some tougher battles, and at the end you have like these raid battles where you fight against a very, very tough enemy. Of course, the comparison isn't complete or that good, because in an MMO you have a raid with multiple characters, like maybe between the 6 and the hundreds of characters, but with Final Fantasy you're stuck with the 4 characters, so it's not entirely the same thing, but I think you get the idea. But yeah, yay for more content. Next up we have Sony says PS5 is definitely still launching this year. This is by Ethan Gatch for Kotaku. We still don't know how much the PS5 will cost, nor its exact release date. But in a new interview, Sony executive Eric Lampel said the ongoing global pandemic hasn't changed the company's plan to launch the console later this year. Well, you could click and see a few choice quotes, but it boils down to some high-profile games got delayed until next year, and people were wondering, hey, is this maybe an indication that you guys aren't really that ready as you previously said? And they're like, no.
It was Deathloop, right?
Yeah, Deathloop and Halo Infinite the week before.
Well, Halo Infinite was Xbox though. PS5.
Yeah, but it's still related because it's one of the bigger games, and it's supposedly going to be a big marquee title for next gen. And considering COVID, considering many other factors, everyone's guessing, hey, maybe they aren't ready, but apparently they are, and they're still set on releasing this holiday season. And I think it was yesterday's Kind of Funny Games Daily where Imran and Blessing had a good conversation on this topic, and it kind of boils down to maybe they're not ready with the software, but they're willing to rush hardware to the store shelves so that people already have something, and people will always want the shiny new thing, and couple that with the holiday spending might
I wonder if they would do the thing that Nintendo has been doing the past few months, where they release a bunch of free smaller games, like the Jump Rope one, and there were a couple other ones that they did recently.
Well, you have the Astrobot game bundled in with the PlayStation 5. They might have some free...
But is that going to be enough?
No, but I was getting to that. You might have some other freebies in regards to maybe having like a PS4 game that's backwards compatible, like say Bloodborne that runs 60 frames per second or something like that. But yeah, we're just speculating at this point. We really don't know. So just show us your card, Sony. Yeah. What are you hiding?
Sony and Microsoft.
Well, Microsoft has been a bit more forthcoming, so I won't knock them for this behavior that much.
Next up is, here's the first global PS5 commercial. This is by Jenny Lotto over at Silicon Arrow. You can watch the commercial on YouTube. Something interesting in a technical sort of way happened. We now have a better idea of how Sony plays to market. I think that's supposed to say, it's supposed to say plans to market the PlayStation 5. That's because with a bit of PlayStation block hype. Jenny, did you write this just really fast? Because that was two errors in the first paragraph.
It happens, man. Typos happen.
I know, I've done that before too. I'll go to old articles and be like, whoa, my editor didn't catch that. I said my editor. No, I'm just kidding. Not a parallax.
I don't edit everything you do, man.
I know. Sometimes it feels that way. The spot, called PlayStation 5 Play Has No Limits, features footage of a woman in different locations as she deals with a tentacle creature. Oh, I don't like where this is going.
Just keep going.
From unsettling waters. A war zone and unsettling beings in a cave. What did you say?
I said keep going. It's not going to end badly. Trust me.
The 114 ad then brings up the system's 3D audio, adaptive triggers, and haptic feedback, implying that all those potential game scenarios felt more real as a result. Here's the first PS5 commercial. The system itself doesn't show up until the 1 minute 8 seconds mark. As a reminder, the DualSense controller is designed to give different sorts of feedback based on in-game actions. Think of it as being somewhat similar to the Nintendo Switch Joy-Con's HD Rumble feature. The triggers on the controller also provide adaptive feedback, with people able to feel things like recoil and use sensations to help them in-game. The PlayStation 5 is set to be released before 2020 ends, though Sony hasn't announced an official date for its launch yet. The company has promised it will alert people before the pre-orders of the system open. I was reading about how when you, if your gun is jammed in a game, the triggers won't like the triggers will be like not actually jammed, but like they'll feel like it. I'm like, that's interesting, but also I'm afraid that could like, depending on how the controller is made, I would be afraid that could like potentially mess up the controller somehow after extended use. I don't know.
Possible, but I'm guessing Sony already factored that into the development of the controller. Otherwise, they wouldn't have this feature.
Yeah, let's just hope they don't turn out like Joy-Cons.
Well, yeah. Let's not open old wounds.
Did I say this on the podcast that I had to switch to a new Joy-Con recently?
No, you haven't.
My last spare one. Yeah, so originally, I have the red and blue switch, right? The neon red blue one. So the blue thing, what happened first was the blue one went out of the blue one that came with it went out of commission. So then I got the red blue, but it was reversed, and I was like, it's okay. I wanted a fully neon red switch anyway. And then a couple weeks ago, when I was playing Xenoblade Chronicles, the R button stopped working on the right red Joy-Con. So I had the spare blue one. So now my Switch is just the opposite of what it came as. I'm mostly playing it on the screen, on the TV screen with my Score Bunny Pro controller instead now. Because I just don't want to mess with Joy-Cons for now.
Yeah, it's also kind of making me hesitant to buy any kind of extreme games or games that require extensive use of the analogs on the Joy-Cons, like a fighting game or Smash Brothers.
On the bright side, I haven't had any problems with my Pro controllers. I have a Power A wired one and a Power A wireless one.
Well,
and they're both fine.
Fingers crossed, because I have a Power A wireless one, and the left analog is already drifting, which it's it's a mess. But you can reset it by removing the batteries and replacing them, or putting them back in, and that kind of resets the analogs. So I hope you're more fortunate than I am.
It is still weird to me that it uses batteries. Luckily, I had a big thing of spare AA's from a long time ago.
Well, they last a pretty long time, so it's not that bad.
Yeah, they really do. I was like, as I was playing Xenoblade, I played through like nearly all of Xenoblade with the same set of batteries. Next story. This is a real quick story because it wasn't. This was Gamatsu on Twitter. Demon Souls was rated in Korea on August 13th, and it was also rated recently in Japan as well. There was an actual article somewhere, but I forgot what the site was. I think maybe on DualShockers or something. But I wonder if we'll get... I don't know. Nobody's sure if that's going to be like a launch title for PS5. But I wonder if we'll get a release date soon.
Well, Bluepoint has been developing this game for a very long time now.
Since after Shadow of the Colossus, or since before?
Yeah. Even before, I like to say, because they've been teasing it for so long now. Maybe they're ready to release the Kraken as it is. But who knows with COVID these days? So fingers crossed. They're also...
I'm kind of... I think I've talked about this on the podcast before. I'm not split on the Demon Souls thing. Like, I love Shadow of the Colossus, and I still need I have the Bluepoint remake, and I still need to play the remake, but I love what they've done with it visually. And with Demon Souls, there are some people who like what they've done with it, and other people who say like they made it too bright and made it lose the gritty feel that Souls games usually have. And I'm just like, I'd rather be able to see, because I don't like when games are too dark.
Well, what
can't see.
What does your gut say when you see the up-res visuals of the Demon Souls remake?
I'm not that big of a Souls fan. I played Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3, and then watched Matt Padgett and Jake Decker of GameSpot stream some of the Souls games, which is pretty fun. If you want to check out twitch.tv/Matt Padgett or Jake is it Jacob Deck? Is that his?
Probably.
Anyways,
like
I'm not like the biggest Souls fan, and I think it looks good, but
details.
like, if it's like. If it's like the aesthetic, it's like the bigger Souls fan are more like it kind of loses the original aesthetic of the game. It's like, okay, I kind of see what you mean there. I mean, I never played the original Demon Souls, and it was like a PS3 game, so
yeah,
I don't know how well it's aged.
To that, I'd say it's going to be a common thing if they keep remaking games from older generations.
Yeah.
The aesthetic or art direction you're seeing at the moment is also probably due to hardware and software limitations. That's why you're seeing what you're seeing. If they had more horsepower, more RAM memory to play around with, you'd probably be seeing something totally different. So yeah, I'd say don't be so nitpicky.
Yeah. We have one more news story.
Yeah, that's all me.
And I gave it to you.
Platinum Games opens its own merch store, kicks things off with masks and logo tee. This is by Ryan Craddock for Nintendo Life. If you're a super fan of Platinum Games, makers of the wonderful 101, Bayonetta, and Astral Chain, you might want to keep an eye on its brand new Amazon store. Exclusive to Amazon Japan, in parentheses, which offers international shipping, so yay. The store has started taking orders for its first batch of products. You'll find 4 different mask designs with early sales proceeds being donated to Doctors Without Borders, which is very neat, as well as a diorama and a t-shirt. Feel free to browse the store here if you're interested. So click on the article, there will be a link, and you'll be rerouted to the store. This is very cool. I kind of want the wonderful 101 mask with the big logo up front.
Yeah, it looks. Yeah, I was thinking. I like that one. Wait, which? Oh, the big logo one.
And the platinum shirt. It's just kind of neat. It's
Is it only those ones so far?
I'm guessing. You'd have to click on the store link to see what else they have in store.
Because like a Bayonetta face mask.
I mean, they're probably getting around to it, but Wonderful 101 is their most recent release, and
that's true.
It's kind of good cross-brand promotion.
Yeah.
Okay, that was all the news for this week. We have our main topic.
Yeah. Our main topic, really quick, because this is going to be a bit of a shorter podcast since we've had less news this week for some reason. Maybe it's people getting ready for Gamescom, and that's why we haven't heard, and Tokyo Game Show.
Could be.
And we're speculating prices for next-gen consoles because the prices have not been revealed for either yet, and it's August, and these are slated for November, and I don't know if this has ever happened before.
Well, I think
I mean, I know the pandemic might be part of the reason.
We've already discussed this on the podcast a few times in passing, but with regards to this recent topic, we have about 3 months left to see the price of the next generation of consoles. Imran Khan of Kind of Funny Games Daily made an interesting point that we probably will see this sooner rather than later, because the companies, Sony and Microsoft, also need to order shelf space at storefronts, and to have that, you also need a price to give to retailers, because the retailers won't stock items without knowing the price, or won't put anything on sale without knowing the price.
So I wonder what the latest they can do that is.
The latest is probably October. They're probably thinking, oh, okay, we'll give you a month to save up the money, which is really not a whole lot of time, if that's what you're thinking. But yeah, I don't know. The latest.
So we have a question from our boss, John. he says, we still haven't seen price tag for the PS5, and I'm going to add and Xbox Series X in there. Do you think it will be much more than previous consoles? I'm thinking it'll be around the $800 to $1,000 range. No. It's not going to be that much.
I think I know his line of thinking. It's probably because the equivalent of the PS5 and Xbox Series X would be a very high-end gaming PC. And a very high-end gaming PC is within the 800 to 1,200 US dollar range. And
because my laptop is right on the low end of that.
Yeah, so. And this is kind of like mass consumer electronics when it comes to video game consoles, and you want to sell this to as many people as possible. And high-end gaming PCs are kind of for enthusiasts, not for the layman, the general public. It's not for grandma who wants to give little Timmy a Christmas gift this year. Like, I don't think grandma's running into Best Buy saying, you know what, I want an Alienware with a Core i9, a GTX.
I don't think grandma's running into Best Buy at all these days.
Yeah, especially these days. But you get the point. Grandma is not ordering the newest i9, the newest GTX graphics card or RX graphics card.
The 2070.
Yeah, like it has to have 32 gigabytes of RAM. Little Timmy will settle for no less. So yeah, you have to factor that into the things. You also have to think about a PC versus a console. A PC can do a whole lot more within its capabilities, like word processing, video editing, like everyday stuff you can think about. But a video game console can't do that unless you have like a specialized kit with a keyboard and mouse and what have you. So it's going to be very specialized hardware, specialized for gaming, which will make it a bit cheaper. And traditionally, hardware manufacturers or the big three, Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo, have sold consoles at a loss, because if they sell these consoles at their quote-unquote true price, they're going to scare away customers, and they don't want to do that. And the way they win back money is through software sales. So having games available, having games people want, that's going to bring in the money. And the hardware, they can sell at a loss, and they'll recoup eventually.
Especially now, because people might not have nearly that much money saved up.
That is true, but the NPD sales figures have proven kind of the opposite of that.
And I feel like I also feel like there would be less people willing to buy it at launch if they were in that range.
Well, definitely true. We've seen it with the PS3 launch when it was,
and the 3DS launch.
I think the PS3 was either 500 or 600, depending
600.
Depending on the configuration you were getting. And that absolutely killed any momentum they thought they had with the PS2, because people were not buying it until the very end when the good games were showing up. And the same thing when the Xbox One launched with the Kinect. That extra $100 on top of the price point of the PS4's price tag did not make it enticing or attractive for the general consumer.
Yeah.
And
I've seen. No, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
You first.
No, I was going to say, in terms of the 3DS, they had to drop it by $100, the price tag, for it to be that much more attractive to the general public.
That's when I got mine.
Yeah.
What I was gonna say was, the predictions I've seen say it's probably gonna range somewhere between $450 to $550. And I'm like, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think that's the most
like
people...
the digital ones. The all digital consoles will be on the cheaper end, and then the disc ones.
Yeah, I think
the more expensive side.
That's the max people or these companies are willing to go to. Like the $600 is probably the upper limit. Having all the history of previous generations and the price points they offered, they don't want to repeat that.
I'm getting the disc version of both eventually because I am not giving up on physical copies of games until it's no longer an option.
Well, there's that.
I do get some games digitally. I get some games digitally just because I don't have shelf space for everything, and I can't trade in things at the moment.
One thing that makes the Xbox probably the more attractive of the bunch, you have this leasing program Microsoft has, where you can make monthly payments to buy off the Xbox and eventually own it. And there's a
Oh, so like in pay in increments?
Yeah.
That's
and
nice.
You can, well, for now they have the Xbox One plan, and you can upgrade that to the Xbox Series X plan eventually. So
that's cool.
If you don't have that much money to spare, you can get it through that. I don't think Sony has any.
So I might actually get a Series X first, like I've been saying.
Yeah. But definitely check the details and the pricing for that, so you don't kind of screw yourself over. But if I had to guess, I'd also be saying somewhere between $300 and $600 is what you're bound to be getting for these consoles.
Real quick, John had another question asking me if I was playing Temtem. No, John, I'm not playing Temtem right now. I need to, but that's not a Japanese game. Okay, back to the actual main topic.
There's also the Xbox Series S, which will be considerably cheaper than the Xbox Series X, which is what we're all guessing. And that is specialized to 2K gaming, not 4K gaming, as the Series X and the PS5. Which, I mean, I'm not all that broken up about it, because if I were to get a console with 4K capabilities, those texture patches and texture updates are also going to be super big, and I don't think I want to be downloading games forever before I can play them. And it might help or help people who are from more rural areas, like I'm thinking of the American Midwest, or maybe the Caribbean or Southeast Asia, where you don't have the best of internet connections, and you might want something that can be a bit more palatable, and maybe you don't have that 4K TV, so you don't really need all that horsepower, and you're pretty content with 2K gaming or a 1080p gaming, and you really aren't that picky about graphical prowesses. I was actually reading something about how PlayStation 5 doesn't have like true 4K, and it's like, well, as long as it's close enough to 4K, it doesn't really matter that much. Like, it's not. Does it matter? It matters in terms of performance.
Yeah, no, I was talking to it with a friend of mine who knows way more about the technological aspects than I do, and he was like, well, yeah, because of how all this other stuff works. And I was like, oh,
yeah, because if you're rendering something at 1080p, you're already stretched to the upper limit of what you can do with video games. But then you have to render that at 4K. That kind of reduces the availability of what you can put into a graphical intensive game. The same thing with 30 FPS versus 60 FPS frames per second. That also plays a large role in how much quality you can put into character models and lighting engines and particle effects. There was a great thread on Twitter last week about Uncharted 4 single player versus multiplayer, and how the graphical fidelity differs between those two modes. And 2K gaming, 1080p gaming is still perfectly fine. even on high-end PCs, you have that as an issue. I think there's a Hardware Canucks video about 4K gaming versus 1080p gaming, and 1080p gaming is still the best standard to be playing in.
So is it like different with? It must be a lot different with games versus like movies and TV shows then, huh?
Yeah. Movies have kind of a smaller footprint when it comes to processing data in comparison to video games. Video games have streaming data at a much larger volume, and it's far trickier than having a movie in 4K.
So it's kind of like you don't necessarily get a 4K TV for video games necessarily. It's more like you get a 4K TV for movies and TV shows more specifically.
Unless you're a pretty big gamer and you know your tech stuff and you want the maximum capabilities. But
my brother has a 4K TV, and I'm like, well, at least one of the HDMI inputs is 4K. And I'm always amazed when I'm watching, like, when I hook my PS4 up to that TV and I'm watching like a Netflix or something, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, you can definitely tell the difference between a 1080p stream and a 4K stream, or most people who are tech savvy can. And you can absolutely see the details on a game that's very intense graphics wise. Yeah. So I wouldn't totally discount 4K gaming as something to chase, but 1080p is still the golden standard, I'd say.
Yeah. I think we're gonna cut this episode short because that was kind of our main topic, and we haven't had a guest in a while. We're still working on it. Don't worry, we'll have a guest again soon.
I mean, they might still be fine with just hearing our lovely voices, our dulcet tones, if you will.
We're not that popular.
Small steps, man. Small steps.
We're going to have a very special guest at some point, but they haven't. They did respond to me initially, and then haven't responded to me in a while. So we'll see about that. We have guests planned and return guests and all this good stuff. So hopefully in the coming weeks. But it's also going to be we're about to get into the busy fall season, especially with the new console launch. So
we'll have much more.
We'll try to have guests, but yeah.
Okay, I think that settles it. This has been a great week. Less so with the funeral I had yesterday, but this has been Errol, this has been Jason. Thank you for listening to us, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah.